Welcome to New Hampshire Politics with John Burt. I am John Burt. I want to thank you for joining me. And today we have a wonderful guest, and I'm sure my viewership will just skyrocket right up there. And our guest is, she's running for District 20, New Hampshire State Senate, and she's a candidate, and it's Carla Gericke. Carla, thank you for coming on my show. And
thanks for having me. I love that we have this modern tech that means we can talk to each other even when we can't be together. It's great.
Yes. And I heard you're out doing door knocking today, and you're really hitting the doors.
I was out on 1st, 2nd, 3rd Street, that area. Got some really cool Halloween decorations up there.
Yes.
there were some ghoulish things, but yeah, we had a good time. I went out with Joe Alexander for the afternoon. Stopped at the town clerk's office, to get the AB ballot list. So you and me need to talk, and let's get rocking and rolling. I can hand out your lit too,
Yeah, because time is running out. But I think November 3rd is going to be very good for us.
I really hope so. I do find that people who, if I see a Trump sign, I stop, I go say hi. I'm kind of like, if you like Trump, you're going to love me. And so I've really been trying to, just talk to those folks. And I do hear a little bit of concern from people who kind of are like, I feel like I'm seeing so many Biden signs, but I just keep reminding myself it's a presidential year. Our president is in there. People want to support him. We've got the Supreme Court. We've got the redistricting coming up. I mean, this is going to be a big, important year for us. And
it is very
people
important.
Need to come out.
Absolutely. And sadly, there's a lot of Trump supporters because I'm doing some door to door. And pleasantly, I have found, Carla, that people don't mind us going door to door. I mean, we keep our distance, we stand back, and I have a nice chat, and people aren't upset about me knocking on their door. The second I knock, I step back.
Yeah, me too. I always knock. I go back at least 6 feet.
Yep.
I haven't heard one complaint. I haven't even had someone say anything. And in fact, I find that a lot of the voters are really receptive, because I think people are incredibly lonely. This idea of isolating healthy people, I think, in my opinion, is cruel. And it's not really, what we should be doing as a society. Of course, always historically, if there is a medical situation, you take care of the frail, you take care of the sick, and you take care of the vulnerable. But you don't tell an entire healthy population to stay at home too.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's not good. But, so I did write some questions down because I wanted to make sure we, stayed on topic. And the first one is, why are you running for State Senate in District 20? Because that's Goffstown. And how many districts in Manchester?
4 in Manchester. So it's the west side of Manchester, wards 10 and 11, and then wards 3 and 4. So 3 is Manchester downtown. That one's a little rough for Republicans, and then ward 4.
Yeah.
So the shortest way to explain why I'm running is I am running to preserve the New Hampshire advantage. I picked New Hampshire as my home more than 12 years ago. They say that the lucky ones are born here and the smart ones move here. So I don't know how smart I am, but I do know that I chose New Hampshire as my home. I grew up in a unmoored background. My dad was in the Foreign Service. We traveled and lived in a lot of different places. And so the fact that I've been here in this one place for 12 years, which I picked almost 20 years ago, says something. And I picked New Hampshire because low taxes, no income tax, no sales tax, personal responsibility. That's something that people forget out of the equation. One of the things I love when I knock on doors is when I meet an 85-year-old woman who's out there, working on the garden or chopping down a tree or, just going about her life. Because I think that is a part of New Hampshire's culture. So I want to make sure that the reason New Hampshire is the place that ranks, top quality of living, best state to live in, best state to raise a family in, least poverty, least unemployment, all of those things are the result of the way we govern. So as we know, it's the famous saying, right? Low taxes are the result of low spending. So we need to have the right candidates in the House and Senate to both support our governor, but also to make sure that, we keep that balance, low taxes, low spending, because we know the Democrats want to give us an income tax.
Yes.
We know the Democrats want to spend like drunken sailors. And we know that if they get in there, those things are going to happen.
Absolutely. And the thing too is that we are running a deficit right now. So the next House and Senate that walks in there, we have to look at that. How do we deal with that? And it's going to make, there's going to be some big decisions to make. And like you said, the Democrats, they can't wait. They will be an income tax.
Look, and I can tell you, as I door knock, my opponent, Lou D'Alessandro, is a 22-year incumbent. He used to be a Republican, he switched to Democrat. Sometimes I think some of the Republicans, just vote for him because he's a nice guy. Everyone will say he's a nice guy. I get it. He's a nice guy. His voting record is not nice. He voted for an income tax twice in 2018 and in 2016.
Yeah.
And so, we can't afford to just keep nice guys there. And for the people who are like, but he's a nice guy, I want to let people know I'm a nice gal. Like,
yeah.
I can go there and I can truly represent everyone's interests, because when you're looking out for the taxpayer and when you're focusing on individual liberties, when you're saying the most important person in this equation of how we govern is us, the smallest minority, us, the individual, then it's hard not to do a good job up there because you're actually looking after your friends and neighbors.
Absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So as I mentioned, I'm a diplomat brat, as they say. I'm actually originally from South Africa. So I am an immigrant. I won a green card in the lottery back in, I think 94 is when I won it. I was still in law school in South Africa at the time. And, living with my boyfriend, who then we got married and we came out together to America. And so we immigrated in 96. I came to America because the stories you hear when you're not raised here are true. There is something truly exceptional about America, and we're losing that, which is also why I'm fighting and why I'm running. And so, as a child, I grew up in America. Actually, my dad worked for the UN in the 70s, Sweden, a little homeland in South Africa called Bophuthatswana. And so I grew up all over the world. I went to a lot of primary schools. Why is that important? It's important because it means you have to learn how to work well with people because you're always sort of the odd one out. And, and you learn to really adapt. And as a trained lawyer, when we came to the States, we settled in Silicon Valley. And my husband's a techie. And so, he went into the tech side. And I actually also went into the tech side as an in-house counsel. So I had to retake the bar exam in California. And then I worked for, high-tech companies. I worked for Apple Computer. I worked on the acquisition of Next when we brought Steve Jobs back into Apple. I worked for Logitech. You just mentioned you had a Logitech camera, as the in-house counsel there for the business and sales side. So I've always worked with people, and I trained as a mediator actually in that scenario as well. So when I look at what we need in the Senate going forward, I think we have this tendency now to sort of polarize people and to very much pit this left-right paradigm. And so I think my flavor, while I am Republican and I obviously support the platform because otherwise I wouldn't run as a Republican, I feel like I bring some balance to the Senate where I'm going to be able to work a little bit with both sides to see if we can find some compromise. And I really want to come in and become a voice that says, let's be collegial, let's work together. And the Senate is a little more that way already than, say, the House.
It
But I
is.
think that I can come and just really be that new voice with fresh ideas, some very old ideas, of course, because, I like the Constitution
Yeah.
in its original form.
Well, that's pretty rare up there sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, certainly we can see, we all get the questions from about President Trump's new Supreme Court appointee,
Yeah.
and when people say, well, she's an originalist. And I'm like, yeah, I know it sounds strange to people, but
Yeah.
if you write a contract and you and I are agreeing to a contract, which is what the Constitution is, a binding relationship between the parties, so to say, then we should agree on what the contract means. You can't be afterwards like, oh, but the word and or but or limiting or including means the exact opposite, because then we don't have an agreement anymore.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. The Senate is more together than the House. They always say the House because we have 400 state reps. We're the third largest representative body in the free speaking world. It's like herding cats.
Yes, indeed. And I am a true cat herder. It is it is my magic skill. So, I really hope that voters will give me a chance this time. People know that I did run before. I think it's important for people back home to know that, 2016 I ran because literally they could not find someone to put their name up against Lou. He's such an institution. He's been around such a long time. He has $500,000 to spend. I have maybe $20,000-$30,000 to spend. I mean, this really is a David and Goliath battle we're talking about here. But in 2016, I got 40% of the vote and I was entirely unknown. I've done a lot of work in these communities to get people to know who I am, to reach out, to work with businesses. I do my show here in Manchester. And in 2018, as you know, because that was a squeaker, our district swung like 12-15% to the left. Now that was the big blue wave they talked about, where they got all these new voters and all of that. So one, we cannot expect another blue wave like that. That work was done in 2018, right? Like they can't go find thousands of new voters. That would seem strange and suspicious to me.
Yes.
So even with that sort of shift, I still went up 2%. So I got 42% in
really?
2018. And so I think that's a big deal. And so, my plea really to people watching this is, find out about me and vote for me, because Goffstown is winnable. John and I joke all the time because I'm like, there are 500 people in Goffstown who vote for John who don't vote for me. So vote for me.
Yeah. No, and well, like you said previous about the, reaching across the aisle, I do that occasionally, and I have voted on bills that the Republicans do not want me to vote on, but it's the right thing. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to vote what's right.
Yeah, and that surely is what we really want.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very hard for me to even throw my hat in the ring in terms of doing politics, because it's hard. You become a public figure. People are mean. Currently people are fighting whether they're going to vote for me based on my hairstyle or not. I was like, okay, my hair looked weird in that one thing, but also I had to cut it myself at home, so forgive me.
Yeah.
But I think it really is, politics is about relationships. And my relationship primarily will be between me and the taxpayer and my constituents, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're looking after our friends and neighbors, because that's what it is. It's not like in other places where you're never going to see these people again or anything. Like, we all know each other. We're around, right? And so I just want to go up there and do a good job. And honestly, there are things that need to be reformed. You know, we're moving in the wrong direction on a lot of things. And one of my core issues is actually government accountability and transparency,
Yeah,
because you can't keep government accountable if you don't know what they're doing.
exactly.
And you know, and our right to know laws have been butchered over the years. They're so far away from what the Constitution of New Hampshire says they should be. You know, the New Hampshire Constitution says our government should be open, accessible, transparent, and responsive. They're hardly that. Although I was very, very, very impressed with the town clerk in Goffstown today. She was extremely helpful, and I appreciated that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a great team in there.
Yeah, really, you know, and that's not always the case. And honestly, I do know with a lot of right to know work, it's not, and my belief mostly about government isn't that it's filled with evil, malignant people. It's not. It's filled with a lot of people who genuinely want to do good.
Yes.
My whole shtick is just you can't do good if you're stealing from Peter to pay for Paul.
Yes.
That relationship doesn't really work out in a good and moral way.
Yeah. And like I said, next year is going to be trying times for our budget, you know, because
Well,
of
the
COVID.
budget, and then we have redistricting, right? So there are big stakes here.
Yes, huge. Yeah. Now, Carla, I think you know that I am the Second Amendment guy.
Yes.
And I fight hard. As a matter of fact, I even won my Supreme Court decision with the New Hampshire Supreme Court, which I was just like, oh my God.
That
You know,
was recently, right? The
yeah,
decision came out.
yeah, a couple, maybe a month ago. I
Wow.
think that's extremely hard to win a Supreme Court decision. You know, but what it does, it just knocks it to the lower courts, which that's what we asked for. So they did but the way they wrote it up is really good. But I just want to find out you know, the governor vetoed, and I fought extremely hard on the red flag laws, and you know that the Democrats bring, and they've already brought a new red flag bill. It's already in there.
Yeah, I know.
So
So I mean, I'm a big 2A person. My personal background is, you know, I shoot, I own guns. You know, I'm not the best. I'm a pretty good sniper, but you know, you know, I'm not scared of them. My personal family history with that, just very briefly, is, you know, South Africa was embroiled in the Anglo-Boer War back in the turn of the 18th, 19th century. And something that people often don't know is the British actually introduced concentration camps in South Africa. That was the first real use of concentration camps in warlike situations. And they put women and children in there, including my great grandmother, who never, when she came out, spoke about it again. But 25% of Afrikaner women and children perished in those concentration camps. And so since then, you know, if you look at the history of any nation where someone is disarmed, it generally doesn't work out well. So that's sort of my reasoning for it. I would not support red flag laws. I'm endorsed by the NRA. I'm endorsed by, you know, Gun Owners New Hampshire. Like any gun guy group out there. They know I'm solid on that issue. And that's important, and I'm glad you asked it, because one of the strange phone calls I was getting at the end of last election season in 2018 was actually a bunch of calls that came in the 2 or 3 days before the election, where it was people going, I was going to vote for you, but I heard you're anti-gun now.
Oh.
I was like, that's an interesting whisper campaign for, you know, to be out there. So I'm pro Second Amendment. I'm pro it because, you know, guns both save lives, can be used in self-defense, but also they protect us from tyranny.
Yes, absolutely they do. And, you know, and sadly, your opponent has voted for every red flag law against every pro-gun bill that I support or introduce. And I am introducing 2 new ones next year.
Oh, good. For what?
One is for snowmobiles.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, sadly, the Senate killed it last time, and they
If
thought
only we
the
had
other.
better senators.
Yes. Well, they thought a House bill or Senate Bill 500 fixed it. At the end, oops, it didn't. So it was an honest mistake, and so I'm hoping this time they'll support it.
And what do you think? You think we'll actually go back into the chamber?
What's that?
Do you think we'll actually be able to get back into the House and all of that by next January?
Well,
I
yes.
hope
And
so.
what I understand is if the Republicans win the majority, which we're going to,
Yes.
then we'll be back in the House where we belong.
Good.
Because bottom line, if they have to wear the mask and all that stuff, people, will, we can keep our distances. But I was also wondering, who else have you been endorsed by?
So I have been also endorsed by Young Americans for Liberty.
That's a good group.
So they're a great group who really do vet their candidates. I know you've been supported by them as well. And, they really look at candidates running from the individual liberty, economic liberty perspective. So they've been vetted. I would say if you're a Rand Paul, Ron Paul, cruisy kind of guy, that's sort of their flavor. And then New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, also very similar, looking at, how do we protect the taxpayer, Granite State taxpayers, anyone who's solid has said, yes, you're great. I haven't been chasing endorsements this time. I think that's the current list. I'm probably forgetting someone. I don't remember. And I think I put it on the list and then I forgot to look it up. So I apologize. But yeah, so, gun rights, individual liberty rights, economic liberties. I don't know that the Marijuana Policy Project did a endorsement this time, but just in the interest of full disclosure, because my position isn't 100% in line with, a typical Republican position, I do support actually primarily the decriminalization of marijuana. So it's just basically, it's a personal decision, and just stop creating. Everyone goes, why do we have homeless people? What's the problem? And I'm like, we literally created an entire criminal class by treating people who have either a health issue or it's just a vice as criminals. We destroy their lives, we make them unemployable, we take their cars, and then we go, why do we have all these people who can't work, who just sit around and mooch off the state? I'm like, let's stop creating those people.
Yes.
So I would support, although I would prefer not to tax and regulate, because now we're just creating an income stream. Yes. For the state, once they get their grubby little paws on something, they're like, now we can spend and spend and spend, right? But I would support, expansion, certainly on medical marijuana, deregulation, and homegrown. So that is where maybe, I veer a little off the reservation, as they say.
Yeah, no, I've always supported decriminalizing it, because when we have these DWI checks, they catch nobody drinking and driving, but they catch a couple kids that are all pimple faced. They're 17, 18 years old with a little marijuana, and it ruins their college. And I'm going, really? Come on.
Yeah, and really, we need to stop coddling the world, and especially younger people and students and stuff. They need to get with the program.
Yes.
Life is tough, and you got to have personal responsibility.
Well, we got about a minute left. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, the show goes really quick. So, how would, if somebody wanted, oh, yes. So how would they get a hold of you, and what's the best way to,
okay.
That's your book.
That is my book, The Ecstatic Pessimist, which is available on Amazon and on my website, carlagericke.com or carla4nhsenate.com. Of course, anyone can find me on Facebook, on I don't really do a lot of Twitter. I'm going to have to pick that up a little more. People
neat.
can call me 865-7140 and email me Carla at carla4nhsenate.com. So reach out if you have questions. I hope I will see people as I'm out there knocking, and genuinely let's face this new future with new, fresh ideas. I have the energy, I have the skills. I'm a lawyer. I'm smart. I can do the job. Give me the chance.
Yes, yes. And hopefully I am, on your endorsement list for endorsing, because,
I am officially endorsed by John Burt. In fact, it is on my mailer. It is
Yes.
on my mailer right there. Endorsed by John Burt.
Perfect. I like that. Yes. But well, thank you for being on, and we got to get the voters out. That's what's going to make the difference. We have to get the voters out. If they don't go, we don't go to Concord.
And honestly, if you're not going to come out, request your absentee ballot, mail that in, vote down ticket, help us all, because by voting for your Republicans, you are supporting Governor Sununu, who is madly popular, and he needs the help so that we can actually do what needs to get done up in Concord.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Carla, for being on, and I really appreciate it. And we'll be outdoor knocking together.
Awesome. I look forward to it.
All right. Until next week, I'll see you later. Bye.
Grampy made this. Grampy made this.